All right, so this was going to be a quick Pete Alonso video basically here, um, but it seems like things are happening as the winter meetings continue. Just as I was about to start making this video, Jeff Passan tweeted that the Red Sox have acquired Garrett Crochet. Um, it's a big deal. It looks like there's a lot of good players going back to Chicago. Um, that was a guy that I thought the Mets would go after. It was a guy that they had been linked to. He was probably the best um, option moving forward in terms of the highest ceiling for a guy. Um, Still a lot of options out there, but that one was kind of what I wanted. That was my favorite. Um, but again, it looks like the Red Sox gave up a lot to get him. So maybe the Mets just didn't have enough. The Red Sox do have a really good farm system with a lot of high end players. So it could have just been that the Mets were aggressive but didn't have the offer to give. Um, I think that the Mets have a good farm system, but it's probably not on the same level as the Red Sox. So, hey, you win some, you lose some, but um, there's still some good options out there. Um, but what I really wanted to talk about today was Pete Alonso. There's a lot of smoke going around about Pete Alonso, both good and bad. Um, Yesterday, Jeff Passan was on a radio show or a TV show and said that he was asked what Pete Alonso's market is looking like, and he basically said, "What market? There is no market right now." So it looks like it hasn't really developed the steam. It could have a lot to do with Soto. That everyone was waiting for Soto to get done, and now the bats are starting to happen. Um, but then just today, Scott Boras was interviewed by the media. I saw it on SNY, where he basically said that it was slow to begin with. There was teams that had checked in but hadn't really made any offers, and now the offers are starting to come in. And he believes he spoke to 26 of the 30 teams about Pete Alonso. Whether I believe that or not, I don't know. Obviously, he's going to say whatever he needs to make it seem like his clients are in high demand. He's trying to get other teams involved. He's trying to get more money. He's trying to get the most money for his client as he can, which he's supposed to. That's his job. So a lot of people talk bad about him. That's what the players pay him to do. They hire him because he's the best and he gets them the most money. Um, yeah, so there's kind of conflicting things going on with Alonso. David Stern said that he would love to have him back on the Mets, but basically the deal would have to make sense. They're not going to just spend because of nostalgia. That they want him back, but they're not going to go crazy. And I really think what Stearns is doing is he's kind of slow playing it. I think it's kind of the same thing that happened a few years ago with Nimmo, where the Mets basically told Nimmo, go find your best offer and we'll beat it by 10%. So that could be what's happening now, or they really just don't feel like he's worth it, and they're only going to be interested if the price is right. I think the Mets are just waiting it out at this point. They're waiting to see how far his value is going to fall, because I just don't think that they consider him a $30 million a year player. I think they want to spend more like 20 to 25. I think Christian Walker being rumored to go to the Yankees, that's going to kind of see where you're at with Pete, because Pete will get more and he'll get more years, but I don't think it's going to be significantly more. It'll be more years. The money, I don't think, is going to be that astronomically different. Um, there was a report about Christian Walker going to the Yankees for 3 years, 33 million, so 21 million AAV. Sounds about right. Maybe a little bit more. I was thinking more like 24 million or so for him, and then Pete getting probably like 28. Um, but I just have a feeling that someone's going to overpay for Pete. There's going to be a team who misses out on everyone and just says, "Oh, we'll give you $30 million a year for 7 years," and the Mets aren't going to be there at that price. I hope I'm wrong there, because I'd love to see him back, and it looks like there is mutual interest. Obviously, we know that Pete wants to be back on the Mets. He's said it his entire career. Basically, he loves playing for the Mets. He doesn't want to leave. At the end of the day, it might just get too expensive, or it goes the other way, and he's sitting out there in February and doesn't have a contract, and the Mets call up and say, "Let's get it done. How much do you want? Let's do a short term high AAV kind of thing." I could see that happening as well. Um, but I think right now they're just focused on pitching. There was another report. I forget who it was. It was an article I was reading. Basically, the Mets, they're. It's not that they're not interested in Pete, and that's not why they're not talking to him. It's that they're focused on other things right now, and they know that his market will wait. They know that it's not urgent. He's not urgent. He's not going to sign anywhere immediately, so there's no real urgency to get that done. That's what Stearns is going to do. He's going to make smart decisions. He's not going to force anything. He's not going to make something happen that doesn't seem like it's ready to happen. Um, there was another report uh, basically saying that the Mets are trying to trade Starling Marte. It's not a huge surprise. I don't see his fit really with now Juan Soto. I don't see Marte as a fourth outfielder or really a DH. He doesn't really profile as much as a DH. Although I think it could help him not having to play the field as he gets older and keep his legs fresher, and maybe he just focuses on hitting. I think you want a little bit more power out of that DH position. So I think they'll go a different route there. So it would make sense if they're trying to trade him. What you're going to get for him, what they said, they're looking for relief pitching help. I don't think you're getting a big reliever for Marte. I don't think he's a 36-year-old guy who makes $20 million. It is an expiring contract. It's 1 year left, but I just don't see them getting anything. I think they'll get a bag of balls. It'll just be salary relief. It'll just be a dump, and that's if anyone even takes him. You might dump half of his salary and have to keep his other half of his salary. I think they want to do that in order to try to add more and stay under that third luxury tax, the Cohen tax. I think that's important to them. I think they still have about $50 or $60 million to go before they hit that, so I don't see it really affecting anything they want to do. Also, because I don't see them spending a lot of money on anyone except for maybe Pete, or maybe if you trade for a Luis Castillo, maybe that's a little over $20 million. But I don't see them going out and spending on a $35 million a year player right now. I just After getting Soto, there's not that much room in the budget unless they're just going to blow through it, which I wouldn't put past Steve Cohen. If there's a guy that they really want and they lose out on him, sometimes he tends to go a little bit crazy and just say, I don't care about the budget, go do whatever you have to. I don't care if it hurts us down the road, just get it done. But I don't see that happening this year. Not with Stearns there. He'll probably rein him in a little bit. And like I said on a previous video, I think that the Soto signing was Cohen. He wasn't going to be beat. He was bringing him in no matter what. And you know now it's more of a David Stearns off season, which worked out for us last year. Last year was the prototypical David Stearns off season. Didn't seem like you did much, but really those little moves end up paying off in the long run. Building a complete team rather than a couple guys at the top and then everyone else, you're hoping for. Basically, the way the Yankees were built last year, when you had Judge and Soto, and then what else did you have in the offense? So I think that's what their plan is moving forward. I think they are interested in bringing Pete back, and I think they're interested in bringing in some more pitchers. I think now that Crochet is gone, Manaea probably becomes a little more likely. Scott Boras was also talking about Manaea and how he thinks he's on the upswing, and there's a lot of teams interested. And they asked how many years they thought he would get, and he said, "Well, the market determines that." And right now, there's a lot of teams in on Manaea. How much of that is true? Who knows? But I think there probably are some teams interested in him, and I don't know that he's going to get 6 years, 7 years. Although when you see that Max Fried contract, he's only a couple years younger. Yes, he's been a lot more successful in his career. He's a better pitcher. He has better stuff. But 8 years for Max Fried it is a lot. Now that's not me downing the Yankees' plan going forward. They needed to make a splash. Um, they overpaid, but you always overpay for free agents. That's not anything new. So to go on Twitter and say, "Oh, you guys messed up. You missed out on something," it's stupid because if you want a top of the line starting pitcher in free agency, that's what it's going to cost. You got 8 years, $218 million. I think it's like 27 or so million a year. It's not really that much. It's just the years that look bad for a 31-year-old guy or a guy who will be 31 with an injury history, with a forearm problem. But listen, you can nitpick any move. You can nitpick Soda. You can nitpick whatever you want. They got a good pitcher, makes them better. Um, But yeah, I think we kind of are limited now in what we can do pitching wise, because I think Crochet was the big trade target for the Mets. I think that was the next splash that they were trying to make. Didn't work out. So now you have to go back to your fallback options, which I'm not hearing anything on Castillo, which is strange because apparently the Mariners are trying to shed salary. The Mets could take on that salary without an issue. It's not that much money, really. It's only 6 or 7 more million a year than what Montas makes, and Montas was a discount. You know, you don't. It wasn't very much money. So I don't know what their next move will necessarily be. I think it will most likely be Manaea, Bueller, maybe even both of those guys. I could see it signing both of those guys. I think if you go out and get Castillo, then it's just Castillo and you roll with whatever you have else left for the rotation, and then bullpen. But at this point, it's kind of redundant. We all know what they need. They need pitching, and they need one more bat, and that bat should be Pete. If it's not, then maybe you look at a trade, maybe you look somewhere else, maybe you roll with what you got, maybe then you go for a third baseman. I'm really not liking this. I don't hear anything from the Mets side, but I hear a lot of people reporting that the Mets are one of the teams that Arenado would waive his no trade clause for. I don't want any part of Arenado. He's in his mid 30s. He's clearly regressed his last couple of years. His days of being a top player are over, so I don't want to see him with the Mets. Now, if they got him and they gave up nothing, and maybe the Cardinals eat some of the salary, and you get a guy who plays great defense and still has some power, I don't see it. I don't want him. It's not what they should be looking to do going forward. I think he still has a few years left on his deal too, so I just don't see that. The Yankees have already said they're not interested, or that they don't see him as a fit. I don't think the Mets will see him as a fit either. I think that's more leverage of him saying, "I'll go to this team, I'll go to that team." It just helps the Cardinals to trade him. But I just don't see the Mets really being interested in that unless you're just giving him away and paying some of his salary. I don't see it happening. Um, Maybe you try to match up. You know, if you're trying to match up Marte with Arenado, match up their salaries a little bit because they're still saving money because Marte is expired after this year. Maybe that works out somehow, and then I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. So just leave it alone. Let's just not deal with Arenado. I don't want him here. Um, so yeah, I think that's that's really all I wanted to talk about. It seems like a lot of stuff is starting to happen in the winter meetings. Obviously, things have happened the whole time. Most notably, Soto. Uh, Boris wouldn't really talk about Soto because he said it's still in the physical phase. But what he did say is that the Mets were told them that they were comfortable adding another big bat to go along with him, which I'm assuming is Pete Alonso because Boris also represents Alonso. Maybe it was, hey, when you come here, we're still gonna probably bring back Pete. We're still gonna compete on that level. So I think that's probably the bat they had in mind. I think a lot of people will see that and say, oh, we're gonna go after, you know, who knows, Santander or Teoscar Hernandez. I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think they're talking about bringing back Pete. I think as Met fans, we almost assume that Pete's still there, but he's not. So I think that's the other bat that they're talking about. So I want you guys to let me know in the comments. Leave comments. Let me know what you think they're gonna do. How you feel about Crochet going to the Red Sox. I haven't seen what the actual. Let me try to refresh and see. I haven't seen what the actual prospect haul was back, but um, yeah, I don't see anything on here what the actual haul is. But they said it was for big time players. So the trade market looks pretty hot right now. The Yankees fans, at least, are talking about getting Kyle Tucker from the Astros. I don't see that happening. The Yankees have no farm system. Um, so unless you're trading Dominguez and Spencer Jones and one of your starting pitchers like Luis Gil, you're not getting him. Like I think it's kind of crazy to even expect that. I saw Brandon Tierney said something about it on his Twitter. Go get him. You know that's the deal you have to make. He's better than Soto. Okay, go get him then. But you can't. Uh, but yeah, I think for the Yankees, the best thing for them to do would be get Cody Bellinger. That would be a huge deal for them. He has the perfect swing for that ballpark. I think he'll be great. I think he'd be amazing with the Yankees. I heard he does have a partial no trade clause. I don't know if he wants to play for the Yankees, but why not? He seems like, actually, I guess he doesn't really seem like the kind of guy who loves the spotlight and loves the big market. Um, but yeah, I don't really want to talk about the Yankees. I was just off the top of my head, Bellinger would be huge for them. Looks like they're in on Christian Walker, which would be great because that could help move Pete's market once Christian Walker goes. The only other real big first baseman out there is Pete, so maybe that makes his market move a little bit. And I just worry that the Mets are they're going to wait too long, and then someone's going to blow Pete away with an offer. But we'll see. Um, but yeah, anyway, uh, that's really all I had. So comment on what you think they're going to do. Comment on how you like the Crochet deal, where you think they're going to pivot. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. I saw a lot of people, a few people at least watch my last video. But yeah, give me a subscribe and give me a like and comment. And I'll talk to you guys later. Let's go Mets.